Hi, my name is Whit Eric, CEO of Hill Country Tech Guys. Together, we're going to talk to other businesses. We're going to find out some new ideas. We're going to challenge the way we do business and the way others do business. We're going to find some people that may be able to help our business. The goal of this channel is just that: new ideas, new challenges, be a little vulnerable, and learn something. I hope you're ready. Let's go.
All right, Cam, thanks for joining today. Today we're interviewing Cam Longmeyer with Stat Real Estate. I first met Cam through ProVisors in New Braunfels, and we've been talking for a year. He's helped me buy the building we're in, and that process was absolutely amazing. So I decided what a better candidate to talk about his business and what he does. He's a local to San Marcos, New Braunfels. Honestly, I don't never know where the guy is. He's all over Texas. This is a master networker. He's everywhere. He knows everybody. So, Cam, tell us about yourself. You grew up around real estate, and I don't believe that was your plan, but it's where you are, huh?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Grew up around real estate my whole life. Knew I didn't want to work weekends. And emotions kind of on the housing side. So I took an internship my last semester, 6 hours in college, and commercial real estate. Loved it in Austin. So rest was history. I got brought on, and 12 years later, we're still doing it.
Yeah, I've bought a couple real estate things in my life, and I say with Cam, I've never had a real estate agent so much to pick up stuff that I definitely didn't think it was his. Where'd you get that from? I mean,
yeah, that was just kind of instilled in us on the internship. Weitzman was fantastic to me getting started. Just a great foundation, kind of going the next step, going down to the city, making sure we're checking the boxes, trying to help with the CEO, signage, architects, GCs, just getting everything in place. Business owners shouldn't have to worry about that. And quite frankly, I don't have to, but it makes my job a little easier if I understand what's going on and can talk the lingo for the next deal.
So, yeah, right. Being the master connector.
And getting to talk to the city, really understand what the timelines process, what they want to see, and what's going to get approved and not approved.
Yeah, I get that for sure. You specialize in healthcare. What advantage do you think that gives you? I mean, I've been dealing heavy medical IT support, so I think I get it. But what do you think that gives you?
Yeah, I mean, it really started just before COVID. Was doing mostly retail, and I saw a big shift from these MOBs, medical office buildings, tenants getting out into the retail convenience, parking, signage. We're just, as Americans, really wanting that convenience factor. And I think the MOBs are kind of not completely lost, but not everybody needs them anymore. So I was doing a lot of the medical in the retail. Call it your dentist, your physical therapist, primary care, urgent cares, you name it. We were, and then specialties as well. So that kind of major shift, and I was running into some financing issues on non-healthcare. So never have had an issue on the financing with healthcare. And that's kind of how I got started in the healthcare with real estate was the demand has been there. Kind of will be retail follows rooftop, and this is retail. It's a service-based. Central Texas and Texas in general, we're not having a shortage of rooftops being built, so we still need all the services, and healthcare is a big part of that. Really can't just build it fast enough, and honestly, I don't think there's enough doctors out there.
Yeah, I guess, now that you talk about that, I never realized how much medical has moved next to a grocery store or a pizza shop, but yeah, they've spread out, and I think that does totally make sense to get out of those stingy, dingy medical office buildings and get to where the people are. Yeah, that definitely is a thing.
Yeah, it just makes life easier, in my opinion. You control your HVAC, for instance, your own front door. You don't have to deal with a massive parking garage, and your patients, where are you? I can't find you, especially if they're older and wheelchairs and different things. So I really believe in the convenience of the retail. I call it medtail, if you will, medical retail. Mm-hmm. So been a believer in that for many years. So
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Well, I guess that's an advantage I can think of as a patient. Nobody wants to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And those medical office buildings or extensions of the hospital feel like a hospital. Being the convenient right there next to where people live definitely checks out and makes sense. And they're also the traffic, right? Those I could think of the South Austin hospital there. I don't know what it is. So I had to go there for something, and it's just holy moly, it's like a circus. They're going to the mall back in the 90s. So.
Yeah, knock on wood. No thanks for me. The only times I'm there is seeing babies being born. So
It's a good time. Yeah, for
but
sure.
it was a zoo. I remember I went to I believe it's St. David's up north, and I actually had to call somebody like, where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't navigate my way. It's just massive.
Yeah, it's like a theme park.
Yeah.
So
after I found parking.
you do a lot more than just helping doctors lease an office. I mean, buying, helping them sell their practice, being that master connector. Expand that for us.
Yeah, for sure. I've really just believe in whatever we can do to help. Whether it's I got a call the other day. Hey, I need a bookkeeper. Great, I got you. Hey, what do you think about my lease? And I'll take a look at value add. I'm not going to get paid for this, but am I in a good position? What should I do? Just kind of strategize. But I think more importantly, really, connecting them with whatever they need. I've built a team around us and an ecosystem, if you will, kind of like the provisors, which we'll get into later, but didn't want to steal all that now. But it's really the same exact model of just building a whole team. I have a healthcare specific everything, GCs, architects, lenders, marketing, CPAs, bookkeepers, wealth management, you name it, healthcare specific, we got it. So really kind of a one-stop shop value add. You're not just, when you're, hiring Stat or Cam, you're not just getting a real estate, blinders on one deal. It's really kind of a resource and a network and a team that, hey, we can stay in touch and whatever, you need, we can try to help. Cause I probably got somebody for you that's in a trusted network.
Yeah, I guess a lot of times getting the deal done, you have to really help them solve a lot of other problems. I mean,
yeah, it's just one piece of it, the real estate. There's always a lot that goes into it behind the scenes that especially the doctors don't think about. I mean, they're not focused on a CO. They don't even probably know what a CO is, certificate of occupancy for those that don't know. But getting the right GC that can kind of guide them after the real estate is closed or leased, that helps a lot. And someone that knows the intricacies of the plumbing for the healthcare and the dental. So if you just hire a GC that doesn't really know what they're doing, you're gonna feel it later.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot of moving pieces and it's a stressful one. And anytime there's the unknown delays in business, you just think of dollars just vaporizing. So the quicker we can close those gaps, it helps. So I for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've hired permit expediters where we can. I mean, saving 2 weeks even. Getting your doors open could be tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on who or what it is.
At least, yeah.
In my experience, some of these folks used to work at the city, so they still know the people at the city and just hand walk your papers in.
Mm-hmm.
So
they got to go Jimmy down there at the city hall. Yeah,
yeah. It's you got to know somebody down there, depending on the city.
Yeah, I can see how that would help. If you tomorrow woke up and your inbox was full of new clients, who would what would that ideal client, where do you think you're the strongest in helping medical or whatever? Like, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, great question. I would say somebody that understands and knows how to work as a team and to delegate. The ones that I kind of, it seems it doesn't work the greatest is ones that know everything. And I mean, some people are like that, but we have a team around us. We work as a team. I kind of take in charge of the real estate and then kind of quarterback, if you will, where I see need fit. So someone that can take advice, or I guess listen, and take my 2 cents and do what you want with it, but then actually, let's execute and you have the plan in place, but somebody that just says, here's my way, here's what I want to do, it's like, man, we're probably not going to work well together. Not that I need to be that guy, but it's like, I'm the expert in my field, you're the expert in yours. Here's the way it works. Let's do this with a team, not an individual I, and it just kind of butt heads if you know everything.
Yeah, I agree. We run into the same thing that, we like to take accountability, and it's hard to take accountability if there's too many hands in the pot, right? Like, and not everything is our problem, but, we like to find what it could be ours and try to make that part better, try to handle the connections, be the intermediary for a lot of these things, because we want you to be successful too. So I definitely get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've told me that there's something that most doctors don't know about, I'd like you to explain that, and that like being a little how to get going, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few, especially associates that don't know where to start. You're fresh out of school, you're burnt out, you've been through all this schooling. Maybe you're 2-3 years in being an associate, you kind of got the hang of it now. You're like, what's my next steps, right? I don't want to be an associate probably your whole life. In ownership of your own practice, starting it up, it's scary. You're like, where do I start with my resources? So they'll give you 100% financing. You go lease a space, they'll pay for your build out, they'll give you working capital, and they want you to succeed. Obviously, there's major banks out there that will give you the money to start up, and then call it 5 years, 7, 10, whenever you're ready to go purchase. Then we go purchase, and they'll still give you another 100% financing loan. And it's not sketchy at all. And we're talking major banks. They just give you 2 separate loans. They give you a working capital loan and for your practice, and then the real estate, you take 25% of your working capital, put it towards the down payment on the real estate. So it legitimately is 100% financing. It is 2 separate loans. It's not free money, but it is a very good competitive interest rate. Reason being is all these banks are after deposits, and what better way to get deposits than establish a relationship with a medical practice that, a ton of them don't go out of business. I know less than 1% default rate on dentists, for instance. So find me another industry where you can find those numbers on a secure getting repaid as a bank.
Yeah, doctors are good for it. Yeah. There's plenty of patience. There's plenty of patience. Yeah, I think me speaking of my own experience, often thinking about getting into a building or something is you're worried about how much it costs, but right, that often it isn't the case, right? How do you feel about that?
I think it's tough just renting. I mean, there definitely has its advantages of renting. If you want to be front and center next to HEB, next to Costco, or call it grocery anchored, Trader Joe, whatever you want to call it. If you want to be at Main and Main, you're probably going to have to lease because there's probably nothing for sale. And, you're probably going to do really well if you're fine with that. But if you're wanting some ownership, it definitely has its advantages. You get to control your lease, essentially. Not going to get the historic average is 3% annual increases. And the historic average is 3% annual appreciation on real estate. So you can kind of take your pick. You keep going up on rent, taxes. You're never going to get to cap those. Unfortunately, you can fight them as an owner. On the lease side, it's a lot harder to fight them. You can push your landlord to fight them, but they're just going to continue to go up on rent on you. And your hands are a little tied on your rent, and some challenges when things go wrong in your building. You
don't have control.
Yeah, the above ground you're in charge of. Below ground, you can ask the landlord and per the lease. So it's just kind of pick your battles. If it were me, obviously a real estate minded guy, I would try to get into ownership as quick as possible. And kind of like yourself, Whit, buy a building, have a little bit of excess space, and then you got. In my opinion, we found a great tenant for you. Been here over 20 years. Large client. I think 200-300 plus locations. So find somebody to help you pay your mortgage on it. So
Yeah, I think being in business for as long as I have, 20 plus years now, I think it's always in the back of my mind, what if something happens to me and how can I keep making money? And I think owning a building is part of that puzzle, right? Because you can build a little bigger space than you need, have some tenants, have some options, build up some equity for that time when you do retire rather than paying it to a landlord too. I mean, is there a little more risk when the AC goes out? Yeah, probably, but you plan for it, right? Put a little bit of budget aside, prepare, and it makes it less shocking, and set up some processes for the maintenance. And it is another business that you can get into and diversify yourself as a doctor, a dentist, or whatever, and maybe even find tenants that help your business, right? If you're physical therapy next to an orthopedic, or there's got to be some mixtures out there that are good for growing business. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and one nugget there, if your AC goes out, renting and retail, you're still on the hook for it. So
that's right. Yeah. Well, it depends on that lease, right? Yeah.
I'd say 98% of leases, you're on the hook.
I did get lucky on mine. I called him up and said, "Hey, I'll split it with you," and he said yes. So
you don't ask, you don't receive.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, you just got to ask. I was really surprised, but I got a half. I split it with.
Yeah, I really believe in co-tenancy. Like you're saying, your ideal referral partners. The easiest example is going to be dental. You can build a dental complex, and I've done this a few times where you have a pediatric dentist, a general dentist, an orthodontist, and then a surgeon or a specialty dental.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, and it's just a beautiful lineup, and everybody wins.
Well, I thought about having a pediatric clinic next to a children's barber shop, children's haircut, right?
Exactly, just where all the kids
are.
All
right, kids, we're going here today. Just do the rounds.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I had a center, and yeah, we had of all things, I'd never even heard of it, but it's a match made in heaven. It's called Bricks and Minifig. It's a Lego store.
Oh, yeah.
Next to the play gym, next to the pet store, next to
the pet store. That's evil.
Yeah, next to the boutique for the women, next to the daycare, next to so it just kept going, next to the soccer academy. So it was just a kid focused. So yeah, the co-tenancy.
That's smart.
I believe in doing that, and in the healthcare, it really just kind of amplifies that co-tenancy. And it doesn't have to be your ideal referral partners, but I think if it's just a good tenant, that and on the flip side of that, I think it can really go the opposite way. So there's an example I love to give. It's right here in San Marcos on 35 near Wonder World next to a gas station. There's a Baylor Scott and White physical therapy next to a Cindy's, which is a lingerie store, next to a liquor store.
Okay.
Not the greatest co-tenants, if you're being honest. Hey, we're going in to get healthcare, and you don't know who's walking in or out or lingering next to the 5 feet away co-tenants.
I think I've seen a donut shop next to a weight loss clinic or something, like a pizza or something, and that was comical.
Yeah.
Liquor store next to a gun store. Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, and something people don't think about, like if they DIY it, especially if they're leasing, the co-tenants really do play a factor. I mean, it's really just drywall is all it is, separates you two. There's going to be noise at sometimes. There's going to be smells. I've seen restaurants, you're going to get your teeth cleaned. I don't know about you guys, but wouldn't love just the smell of grease.
Mm-hmm.
And you
that
can't
grease trap's a little overdue.
Yeah, you can't escape it. And unfortunately, they're in charge of their side. You're in charge of your side. And you have to.
Nail salons. I mean,
nail salons as well.
That can get dense. It's not vented correctly for sure. Yeah. You got to think about that, and that's good advice. We talked a little bit about this, but you've seen your share of doctors and practices, and what cool ideas have you seen for doctors to, be able to take a break for 2 weeks and still generate revenue, or not have everything depend on you. Working 60 hours a week to make things happen, and, signing off charts, right? The struggle is real. It's a lot of work. So,
yeah, I think it just goes back to kind of the delegation. I think the ones that try to, hey, I'm going to work 70 hours, do it myself, this and that, that's where they get in trouble. And then they can never take a vacation. So obviously hiring an associate and a PA, an NP, like that all plays a factor, but in the world of 2026, this technology, I mean, if you don't have anything automated, you're still doing it old school. You don't have a practice manager assisting, even a fractional practice manager, which is a thing, believe it or not. And I think a lot more people should use one. Yeah, I mean, they're getting burnt out if they can't step away for a week, and it doesn't even have to be vacation. Heaven forbid it's a medical emergency. Yeah, you really need to put yourself in your practice in position to be able to step away for a vacation or emergency. And there's resources that I have in a team around us that can help with that.
Yeah, it was surprising to me. I remember a long time ago talking to, I don't even know which doctor, but, the medical school, they get like one semester of a couple business classes, and they end up running and managing a complex business that not only has regulatory requirements on multiple sides, and then life or death consequences at some points, and they don't get that. So I definitely agree with, you need to find good people to bring in to, fractional things to fill in some of the gaps that you can pass off the ownership of those risk and responsibilities and grow your practice and take care of your patients. Because I think most doctors, they get into it to help patients, not run a business.
Completely agree. I think you look back 10, 15, 20 plus years ago, and it's just not what it used to be. I think nowadays, yeah, the ones really getting into it now in med school, they really, really want to help people because it is not as lucrative as it used to be. They're getting squeezed every which way imaginable. And the private practice is just getting harder and harder. And especially if you don't run a business well, it's going to eat you up. So I think everybody should use a team and resources around you. There's tons of resources out there. You just have to ask. If you don't ask, then we don't know how to help you. And if I ask, hey, what can I help you with? And you don't tell me, then we can't help you. So, but yeah, there's fractional practice managers out there. Not a ton of them, but I've done some digging and some researching, and I think there's a big market for it that, a lot of these smaller groups need a lot of help. In different ways, but the practice manager doesn't do it alone either. They have a team around them. So
yeah, got to run it like a business that has they have customers. The patient is the customer. They need it, and I think doctors that try to find a way to run it by the numbers and set the goals and stuff, and it as well. I'll never forget. I had a doctor one time that called me, and we were trying to figure out why his patient volume was down, and he didn't understand it. And we started looking at it, and just out of a gut instinct, we started checking the phone logs, and we saw the days that the volume was low, and started listening to the calls. And the receptionist didn't want to have to stay late, so starting around 3:00, she started telling everybody there was no availability. And the data, the call logs, kind of figured it out, right?
That's crazy. Yeah, never thought about it. Hey, call the IT guy and see why my revenue's down these hours, days. That's
yeah. We've seen a couple of little things, through the time that I'll tell doctors, like, and it applies to my business too. If a person has more than one job, example, answering the phone and checking patients in and out, the phone's going to take the secondary priority.
Yeah.
But that is your revenue stream typically of getting new appointments. I think it's gotten better now with online appointment booking and stuff like that, because that enables another stream. But I think it depends on the kind of doctor you are. So if you're working with older patients, you need to answer the phone. And if you're working with younger people with kids, they probably are cool with the online texting and calling. Although my parents surprise me now. They're trying hard. They're trying hard to get into doing the new way, So, but yeah, I think you got to be aware of those things in a business. It's still a business, So, preparing to sell, like we talked a little bit about, what you do, and you also help doctors in selling their business, transitioning out. And I think that's interesting because you are leveraged in knowing a lot of doctors and medical practices and who's doing what. You kind of have that natural connector role being the transition stage of their businesses. What can you tell me about that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of happened organically. I mean, we're game planning on the front end for really anything we do. If you're wanting to sell, and maybe we structure a lease a little bit differently, different length of term, maybe a different rate, to try to sell and assign that lease. If you're trying to retire or just sell in general, purchasing the building again, I think it's a fantastic way to have a revenue stream, because you can sell the building with it, or you can lease it out retain it and lease it out. So yeah, there's just a lot of different things we can do and different structures. I mean, depending on what your goals are and timelines. So we're on the front end talking about, biggest thing is timing, I would say. Just trying to structure it in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
I haven't met any doctor that's the same yet. So we take it into account. We have a scope, and we kind of craft tailor a white glove plan for you, and what your goals are, because your goals aren't going to align with the next person's. And we're starting to see a lot more the private practices entertain it, just because, like I said, it's not what it used to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When it comes to selling their business and their practice, I know you've been around for some of those transactions. What's the number one thing that you think makes those deals harder, rougher, devalues the practice? What have you seen?
Yeah, I'd say expectations and timing. Somebody that has unrealistic expectations, mostly on a valuation dollar amount. That's I think where they get in trouble. And then timing, hey, I want it sold tomorrow type deal. I'd say those are probably the two most just challenging concepts. If you're thinking about selling, start talking now, because it's going to take a few years most likely to get your business in order to sell. Everything from just your books with your CPA to your staff to your building, or if we need to go purchase something, your equipment. I mean, there's just so many different things to think about when you're selling a business.
Yeah, I've actually gotten a few valuations through my career, and I think they're good health checks. What are they going to look at? What do the evaluators care about? What do the buyers care about? So that you have time to manage the asset, which is your practice, and make it as valuable as possible. So I think, you can't just, I'm going to retire at 65, whatever. And then when you're 64, start the process. That's a process you start way beyond that, and building the value of this asset and getting it ready to be a sellable thing. I definitely can see that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think it could be used as a measuring tool to where you need to work on and what you're doing well, and keep doing that. So I think every business and every person, there's always things we can improve. So let's just have a test every now and then and see what comes back and where to focus on.
Yeah, one of the big things that I find that, this is not just around medical, so many businesses don't run the business to the numbers. And one thing I've learned on top of that the numbers are not always the same year to year. They need to be in line with the market, what you're doing, this sales volume, and you need to tweak that. And I think, that this is a constant process of, running a business. And I think doctors often, they think, I'd say that paying attention to numbers feels like I'm not taking care of patients. But if you don't run a good practice, that's a stable practice, how can you take care of your patients? Right. And have at least
Agreed.
a tab on where those things are and what is happening,
Yeah. And I think same going back to the practice manager, I think having a good practice manager is its weight in gold. It takes a massive just burden off of you. And you can just call them up and have a weekly, quarterly, monthly, coffee chat with them of, hey, where are we on X, Y, and Z, as opposed to having to do it yourself. Yeah, it costs money, but yeah, I think in the long run, it's healthy for everyone. Mm-hmm. Patients, doctor, stress, just everything. Running the business, I think you should delegate a lot of that.
Agreed, for sure. What is one thing you see squeezing your doctors and the people you talk to the most right now? And how are they combating that? What's happening out there?
Yeah, biggest complaint I'm getting right now is staffing. I don't think it's going to stop. Grass is always greener on the other side. And I think that's more prevalent since COVID. I think everyone sat at home for, depending on what type of healthcare, they sat at home for a little bit. The hospitals, the nurses, that's one thing. But the private practice, some of those weren't, revolving doors open. And staffing's the number one issue. There's staffing firms I've partnered with that can be a resource. Unfortunately, they're not cheap, just like anything else worthwhile. So that's a big challenge, is just keeping good staff. And really every which way, though. I mean, you talk insurance reimbursements, getting squeezed year after year. Rent continues to go up. The historical average, like I said, is 3%. And taxes continue to go up. Supplies go up. I mean, every single thing.
Still so many hours in a day.
And reimbursements going down. Yeah. So you're at a stalemate, right? So I really don't know what gives. I've proposed to multiple different people. I don't know how to get it going, but no different than churches, healthcare should get their buildings tax-free. It's technically for profit, but if you need them all to reclassify as nonprofit, and that's the loophole, then so be it. Classify as nonprofit.
Is that what's happening when the hospitals buy up the practice and consolidate? Is that one of the tools you think they use? I didn't even think about that. Because the hospitals are tax exempt. A lot of hospitals are buying practices and rolling that up. I mean...
Yeah, I don't know how that works on like the outpatient. Mm-hmm. Not a ton of experience with the hospitals buying up.
They do their own thing. Yeah.
But where I'm coming from is like the private practice. I just underwrote a deal the other day, and the taxes were $75,000, and it's like, well, she's a healthcare. What can we do anything about this? Because that's a large chunk of change.
Oh, yeah.
And she's trying to run a practice. And it's like, yeah, it's technically for profit, but if you need me to reclassify as nonprofit, let's do it.
For sure.
But yeah, they need a lot of help and resources around. I think getting squeezed every which way. I mean, we're seeing everyone asking for a discount, and I don't think it stops at healthcare. I think this is across the board. Healthcare just is under a magnifying glass with the insurance reimbursement, whereas other people can just raise their, McDonald's can raise their prices. Is the difference. Mm-hmm. And, you get paid cash as opposed to having to try to get reimbursed with insurance. That's always a big key component, is getting paid from some of these carriers.
Yeah, and the delays.
Yeah,
there's a massive delay for them and a lot of work just to get paid. I think, I've seen a lot of these new... I don't know how to describe them, like Blue Agave, New Braunfels, Men's Medical Group, these non-standard, they don't take insurance. They might charge a membership fee. I mean, I think it's honestly a great idea as a business, right? To combat the problem of reimbursement rates, insurance costs, and meet the patient where their needs. If there's a need for that, then why not meet it? And I think they gives them opportunities to do, some potentially things that are maybe better for the patient and better move things forward. I mean, what have you seen in that stuff?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's not going to be for every patient, every consumer, but it's a large market out there for it. I mean, you can walk in, essentially get a quick appointment and be on your way, and get a tailored plan for you. We're seeing more MD VIPs, if you know what that is.
I have that. I like it.
The primary cares where, again, they're getting burnt out and just kind of a revolving door. And the idea is if you can just go to cash pay and take a set number monthly patients, then you might make a smidge less, but you're not going to have to deal with anything on the back end.
You choose who you work for too a lot more, right? I mean, yeah.
And that's a great option for the older folks that need to see a primary care physician regularly, as opposed to say a yearly checkup.
Yeah, for sure. Thinking about where medical is going and, what they're combating, what do you think 10 years from now? How do you think it looks in medical real estate? I mean, do you have any thoughts on where this is headed and the trending we're seeing? I mean, like right around here, there's just there's no space to get. I mean, we looked for buildings. We looked at 3. Yeah, then we look at 3 options, right? And like in all of the same markets, there's nothing out there, and I think that's a challenge too. So
Yeah, I think it's a challenge, not only for Texas, but for, a lot of the country is we still have a ton of people moving here, and there's just not a ton of good buildings. There's buildings out there, but there's not good buildings that
sure,
if you're a patient, you would want to walk into it and willingly
like that warehouse we walked into over there. Yeah.
So I think that's a challenge in itself. We have construction costs continuing to rise, whether it's the tariffs making it, the wages, then the price of dirt, then the interest rates, they kind of are what they are. I don't think they're going to be doing a ton. It's hard to predict 10-year interest rates, but I don't foresee them going down to 2. I hope they don't go to 10, but if they can just remain steady and, if we can get them down a little bit, get construction costs down a little bit with these tariffs and wages, I think it's definitely hard to predict, but I can say with confidence the price of dirt isn't, and price of buildings isn't going to go down in 10 years.
Yeah, it makes me, I just had this idea of a mobile doc and a nurse and a bus. They avoid the real estate. They go meet the patient where they are. Part of the concierge, and we're going to be in this town today. And I don't know that I haven't seen or heard that one yet. They got the mobile IV, but I haven't seen the mobile doctor, the mobile clinic.
Yeah, I just don't think they can do enough volume getting to the patient. I think it'd have to be I've heard of the physical therapy, they go to you, but that's one person. You don't need any equipment. You don't need a whole
support.
van fitted out. It's, you can have these tailored exercises for you, but it's funny you mentioned that. I actually use a mobile vet. So my dog hates going into the vet, just real anxiety, stress sheds, this and that. Don't need to put him through it. So I found a lady that does, and she's fantastic, by the way, Dr. Missy. She charges $75 for a house call, and then obviously we just step onto her bus and everything's right there. She has her assistant and her vet tech, and we're in and out in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
she comes to my doorstep. So I can see some of that, but I would say majority need more than just a bus around them.
Yeah,
but maybe just a primary. I don't think any of the specialties will be able to.
Yeah, especially it's be hard. But what about like an army of nurses that telemedicine? They do the vitals. They call the doc in. I don't know. Like the struggle is a problem. Space and the expenses of it, and like who's going to have that unique idea to circumvent that and elevate the thing too. So
dental would be an interesting one potentially.
Come in my van and fix your teeth.
Yeah. One of the challenges, and I failed to ask her that, I need to, what happens when the van breaks down one day?
Mm-hmm.
You're out 1-2 days, and you're not going to get it fixed in one day, probably. You don't have a backup van. I mean, you don't have a backup location, so you're just out money. I mean, I don't think any insurance group is going to pay you for lost wages because your bus broke down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so ACs go out and plumbing breaks, and you can get
someone out usually same day, next day, depending on what that is. So that would be my biggest, what happens in this scenario?
Yeah, I had a very flexible client base. I mean, I had a neck surgery, fusion a while back, and my barber was nice enough to come out to my house and to cut my hair because I was, trying to stay home and behave and follow doctor's orders. And, it was really nice of him to do that. But, not a lot of things are that way,
Yeah, no, I heard some of that going on during COVID. But that should be interesting trying to project 10, 20 years. I mean, I'm sure something will happen with drones, probably pharmacy dropping off your stuff. We already have some of that with the Amazon and what in the healthcare space is AI and drones going to do? I don't know yet.
Yeah. It was just funny you brought up AI because
can't escape it.
You can't escape it. And, somebody's going to create a wearable medical device that, has an AI / a doctor tied into, and they're going to start delivering your food and tell you what to eat. I mean, I
believe it.
Although I don't know, that sounds kind of nice if I don't have to think about it. Which is what you need to eat more protein, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to think where we were, say, in the year 2000, 25 years ago, and just the advances we've made in that short amount of time when it comes to technology. I wasn't around 40, 50 years ago to see what that lack of technology was in the healthcare space, but I can only imagine the efficiencies and advances it's allowed everyone to make.
Yeah.
And just think where we'll be in another 10, 20 years. It's probably going to be, unfathomable where we are.
It's funny because, back when I first started, I transitioned a lot of doctors off of paper charts and on to digital. And I remember this one group with 13, 14 providers, family practice, and they had rooms the size of this office of charts and not a chart. They had 4 or 5 people running around there managing the paper charts. And, when we first did the conversion, the doctors were frustrated, right? Things were different. Finding things was stressful and how to do things was stressful. And they scanned everything in, which is what I recommended. Bring it in. You don't want to keep this room of paper. And then, I think it took about 2 years to scan that because you can imagine how many charts there was and they got to keep those. And now that room was rededicated. I think they made exam rooms out of it and brought another provider in. And the doctor grabs me in the hall, and he's like, when I first did this, I thought I wanted to kill you. I was like, I heard that. Yeah, I believe that. He goes, now it's great. I can chart anywhere. I can find things. I can search things, and I think that was 15 years ago that we had that conversation probably. And now I think it's going to start accelerating, more advice in there. Yeah. But as a doctor, I'd honestly be worried because, the insurance companies are going to flip this around on them and start analyzing their work based on these CPT 10 codes. And I don't even know what they're on now. I'm probably on CPT 20 by this point, but
it's a good point. Didn't think about that. Just the insurance carrier is all in the business.
Yeah. They're going to be able to figure out things like they never have before about how you're seeing patients and prescribing and start getting in your business. And as a doctor, just trying to help people, it's already bad enough. Now I'm going to start getting a scorecard from.
Yeah, no kidding. Believe it or not, we still see a few people with the old school charts.
I didn't think they could even. I think you have to be cash pay.
Yeah, that's probably correct. But we go in and tour their space. It's like, what are we doing here? It's 2026. And then, like you said, just from the real estate perspective, it takes up a ton of room. So
that's expensive, right?
Yeah.
$100 a square foot.
At minimum. I think just the technology where we'll be is probably the biggest factor. I still think real estate's going to be a necessity. I mean, you're always going to have the hospitals and you'll have the outpatient. I still think you're going to have the private practice in the convenience of retail until otherwise,
Well, this is a little out on the nerd, so I'm going to give you that warning. But, I don't, think I'm not excited about my home robot being my doctor. But what if the home robot was just the extension of the actual doctor? Right. And, so that you still had maybe that's how they combat the price of real estate and some of those things where it's like an enhanced telemedicine, and not for everything, but, for elderly.
Kind of like the mobile visit comes, but the robot comes.
The robot's already there because it's the same one that does your laundry. The doctor now can connect to it, check your vitals, I mean, is it perfect? No, but
but only if you have a good social score, right?
Good internet, right?
Yeah.
My mom and dad, they're getting a little older, and I feel like I call my mom and the jokes, "What doctor's appointment are you going to today?" That becomes the life of driving to doctor's appointments and stuff, getting the follow ups, and if they could make that a little easier for the lower impact, I guess you'd call it appointments. Maybe it's a thing. I don't know. But anyway, who knows? I think that's the craziest thing about where we're at right now. You can literally say who knows because it's moving so fast and there's so much change.
With the AI robotics, I mean, that I haven't got a ton into that, especially in the healthcare, but it's here, but not on a consumer level yet, obviously. But where we will be in 10 years, it might be because everything. You look at the price of TVs.
I mean, but robots have been doing surgery for a while. They've been enabling doctors, right? And I think that would be way more complicated than a follow-up, right?
Agreed. If they can get the price to a price point where it can, like you said, can have in every house or, everyone that needs it. somebody's going to be onto something, and that'll affect the healthcare drastically.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably cut some jobs, but others it'll increase
yeah,
increase productivity.
I do think cross enabling the assistant or whatever it is in the home, like, being able to help clean and then also be a telemedicine expert and also be whatever, laundry and lawn lowers the cost. The more it can do, the better. It reminds me of my grandma. I mean, she's passed away a long time ago, but one time she fell between her nightstand and her bed and got her head stuck. And if there would have been something there like that, she was okay from that. I think she did bruise a hip, but she had nobody there. And something like that situation could have been gone. Maybe at least noticed better. And, I don't know. I think there's opportunities out there, and the future will be interesting. So,
yeah, it's just hard to predict. I think
it's so hard.
What's crazy is, though, in the leasing, we typically sign 10-year deals, and then you can have another five, and in some instances, not necessarily in the healthcare, but you'll sign 20, 40, 60-year deals.
Mm-hmm.
You sign 99-year ground leases, which is,
wow.
I mean, yeah, who knows these
Maybe you'll be
days.
polishing robots one day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Changing batteries.
I can say with confidence, though, on the dirt and the real estate in Central Texas, and really the Texas Triangle being the DFW, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, we're in a good spot here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of living relatively to everyone else is
we're lucky,
is affordable.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I think the real estate is going to be strong. We might not have seen it the last couple of years, but
yeah,
just hang on. 10, 15, 20, you're going to be fine.
It's going to be, it'll be a wild ride though. Well, in wrapping up, we met through Provisors and, and I think I am a firm believer in Provisors and networking. And I've always run my business with trying, help other people, help business and the work and business that comes. And I think that's one of the things that I love about Provisors is it's kind of a give mentality, trying to help connect, because you're right. You're trying to help your customer, and that also in turn helps somebody in Provisors. Introduce us to Provisors. So we haven't talked a lot about it. How is it for you? What has it done? And you're in a year and a half, I think.
Yeah, a year and a half in. Yeah, it's been great for me. I think it's another tool in my tool belt. A lot of great people. Everyone's willing to help. And you have to have at least 10 years experience. So you're already vetted and you go through an interview process, and someone essentially has to sponsor you and say, yeah, we're good. So you have a whole Rolodex of experts in each individual field: attorneys, insurance, CPAs, wealth management, lenders, IT, real estate, anything B2B that you can think of. I think we probably have a person across the country, that is. And then you have your individual home groups, and you can guest at any of them. But it's been fantastic for me from a resource perspective for my customers. Every deal I do needs some insurance. Every deal I do needs an attorney. Every deal I do doesn't need financing. Most of them need financing. So I can do an entire introduction just of Provisors for clients. I got asked the other day, hey, I need a fractional CFO. Well, before Provisors, I honestly didn't really even know what a fractional CFO was.
5 or 6, that you've talked to.
We got one in our home group and made an introduction. So it's allowed me to honestly make it easier for my clients and myself, to where I'm not just Googling fractional CFO and just trying to find someone off the street that I don't know anything about them. So it's been fantastic in that sense, as a resource for me and my clients at the touch of a fingertips. And like I said, just making introductions, kind of you give and you'll receive. I think if you go into it expecting things to happen quickly in 2 months or something within joining, you're probably in it for the wrong reasons. So, just a lot of great people. We go to coffee meetups, and then the troikas, which is the get to know 2 other people better. It could be anything from going to a sporting event, going fishing, just walk around the park, lunch, coffee, in your case, the race cars, which sounds pretty cool.
It's premium.
So you really get to know people, and I think you hang out with people outside of just your troikas and your day-to-day, and hang out with them because you like them and be your friends. I've gone to tailgates with some, like I said, UT football tailgates, baseball tailgates, just with, we get together, not on, I call it a provisor's time, but end up being friends. So it's been great. Just renewed a couple months ago. So we're at least in it for the next year, but I see myself being in it long term. You talk to some folks where it started in California by attorneys. They've talked to somebody who's in it for 10 plus years, and it's like, he swears by it and it's great for his business. So, yeah, I really believe in it. And it's one of the better organizations I've come across. I don't need to mention some, but it's
not a social hour.
Yeah,
but
it's real professional. And hey, we're all in it for seems like the right reasons. I think you can get a pretty good read on some people, but the ones that aren't in it for the right reasons, they don't last very long. And they don't attend a lot of meetings and participate. So you kind of get out what you
got to put it in.
So
in our group meets the first Wednesday of every month at 7 a.m. We a year and a month now, I think, and we've got lawyers, CPAs, wealth planners, IT, real estate. Groups really rounding out, having fun. We're definitely hoping to continue to grow it, and we can, I'm also a member of a group in Austin that, has on average like 40 plus people attend, and we have amazing guest speakers, and, really it's not just networking, it's education, learning, what's going on, how are people getting things done? Cause that's the goal. Everybody wins when one of us wins. And I think that's awesome. So.
Yeah, there's affinity groups as well, which there's a healthcare specific one. There's 100 plus people that meet on that virtually across the U.S. There's a real estate one, same deal across the entire U.S., which they have speakers all the time. Then we also have the local affinity groups. So yeah, and you guessed it, all of them. So it's been a great way to meet, as opposed to having to schedule individual coffees. Like I said, just finding someone on Google. It's been a great way to connect and, like-minded individuals that really want to network and cross-pollinate in B2B. So
yeah, I think anytime you can help your customer, even if it's not something you offer, it's a win. I mean, both of us are in relationship-based businesses, trust-based businesses. Obviously, you'd love a doctor who's buying more than one building, at least one more thing. You're not going to get that if you can't be an enabler and help, solve problems, even if they're not your own problem. So I think that's customer service. So.
Yeah, I think just going back to kind of predicting the future, I think AI obviously isn't going anywhere, but I think there's a large population that's exhausted by the amount of AI that's being pushed. So I think the trust factor is people are wanting that human interaction even more.
Mm-hmm. Real people.
Yeah, so from a client perspective, people really want that relationship, and they value it even more so than they once did pre-AI. I don't even know what year that was, but pre-AI, I'm starting to see that more, and the circle is just kind of getting closer, and people fiend for the human interaction and trust.
Yeah,
it's hard to sometimes even decipher what's AI and what's not, and people just want to be shot straight and just kind of cut and dry, black and white, as opposed to trying to figure out what is what.
Yeah, real people, real relationships, an actual conversation, not a chat bot.
Yep, exactly. I
can't
can't stand, like say, going on the phone and just trying to press zero, talk to the person, and it won't let you. And it's like, I can do this. It's like, no, you can't do what I want. So,
I know you can't. You can't open.
Yeah, the telebot, the chat bot. No, I want the human interaction. Yeah. I know that, so I can imagine.
I'm okay with it. I like them for collecting information and then get me to the right person, but like you can't do it all. I mean, there's a place and a time, I guess. But,
I agree with that.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I hope I enjoyed it, learning a little bit more. And, it's been awesome knowing you for the last year and a half and doing business deals with you and helping out in provisors. So I'm super excited we got to hang out and chat. And you have any closing thoughts or anything that you just want to?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a fun time, this first podcast, so it's been a fun experience. Beautiful setup that you have. I can't wait to see what the final product is once the construction's done. But if you need office space, great spot in San Marcos. Executive suites on Wonder World. There's coffee shop. There's Garcia's Mexican to walk to. There's plenty of things centrally located, 1 minute from 35. And I can promise you there's no office in San Marcos as someone who searched for office space. So I think these will go pretty quick if you need office space here.
Appreciate it. Yeah, he's talking about our little co-work space here, Corridor Collective. Got a conference room, 7 offices. Most of the offices have enough room for more than one person. Just trying to help businesses grow, and it's something I've been passionate about it for years. And we're going to be next door, so support is close by.
Yeah, and parking. I mean, that's obviously a hot topic anywhere you go. There's
we got a problem
parking.
here.
There's an actual parking lot, and then there's abundant street parking. I can't even count all the spaces near the county facility, if you will. I don't even know what technically it is, but
I call it the tax office, but it's like tax courthouse and the PD's back there and everything.
I think it's one-stop county shop.
Yeah,
so
sure.
But yeah, no, it's been a fun time. I appreciate you having me on, and look forward to building the relationship.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you.
Thank you.